Hey guys, so I'm watching it's Game 2 Denial versus COG, and we just got done with the picks bands here, and I thought it'd be a great time noticing there's a new Smite tier list up here to go ahead and take a look at that, and make one of our own here for the new patch here. So Xing Tian just came out, Capri's tournament legal, and just want to go ahead and take a look where the gods are and see where they stack up against each other with the new changes. So we'll go ahead and we'll pull this up, we'll make this full screen, and hopefully I'll catch the end of this match. So break down the tiers. So SS is completely broken, can carry game by itself. S plus, top pick, top bands. S is an S and S minus, A plus. These are going to be the gods that are going to make up most of your team comps. And then we have A minus, B, B plus, or B plus, B. Filler picks and C and D, generally things that are broken for the worst part or unplayable. So we'll go ahead and we'll start here with Agni, put him in A. Reason for that is hasn't seen a lot of changes lately, has really strong burst, has really great team fight, and ranged ults. Of course, having 3 shots can be huge in fights. AMC, we'll go ahead and put him in A minus. He's lacking in mobility, has really crazy lane clear, and burst with Bluestone now. I think he might see some more play yet, but he's still not quite on par with a lot of the other carries. Alpatch, we'll go ahead and put him A+. Still really strong. I think he's one of the picks that we haven't seen a lot lately, and it's probably going to gain some popularity thanks to his 3 having some additional counter healing to an extent, at least punishing people for healing with the stun on that. Of course, the ult's really strong for securing objectives. Anhur falls in the same category as Agni, hasn't seen changes in a while, isn't too powerful, isn't too weak, pinnacle of balance. Anubis, I guess B+, might even go down to B here. Just the issue with Anubis is the mobility. Doesn't have any escapes really whatsoever, whereas Alpatch at least has that slow. And I don't know Anubis has a slow, but this the fact this one's a fast-firing projectile as opposed to a circle on the ground, which it's really easy to predict where they're going to go ahead and drop it, and lots of time to react to it. So it's just completely different stories there. Alkong's, even with the nerf / buff, still going to leave him an S+. The fact that he is so safe, has such strong burst damage, and has the ability to actually fly out of a fight after getting it execute and come back with health, and reinitiate or just get out, extremely powerful. We have Aphrodite here. I'm actually going to go ahead and put her in S-. Reason for that, again, Weakening Curse was nerfed. So instead of 100% healing reduction, 65%. Considering Daity's healing is kind of the hallmark of Daity, I think it's going to bring her up where she's going to be able to link up with ADCs, carry games, win team fights where fight might not necessarily be in the opposing team's favor. You could go into a 2v3 and possibly walk out with all the kills and no deaths. Apollo, we're going to go ahead and put him in A, yeah, same as Agni and Anhur. All this onomatopoeia here, or alliteration. Ta-da! Really strong with the split push. The Mez is extremely strong. It gives you the ability to go ahead and walk out of 1v1s that you might be losing, or burn beans for it. Let's see, Arachne. Arachne, I'm going to go ahead and put her in A. I think she might be a little bit underutilized. Her mid-camp contention, I think, is extremely strong with the spider babies. If you go ahead and put them in entrances to mid-camps and you happen to get there first, if someone comes in without a jump, they got to go through the camp. Or not through the camp, but go through the web. Sucks. If they have a jump, they don't have a jump. And they have to go out through the web. So either way, it puts you in a really good situation. We did see Andy playing her at SPL recently, having some success there. Ares. Xing Tian makes this a lot harder of a pick here. I'm going to go ahead and put Ares in A-. His damage, if she does get ahead, it can be crippling. He can literally be a burst mage without lane clear, pretty much. The wind up on the ult, really weak early game, does burn beads. I say it's weak early game, but again, if you're ahead early game, it can be strong, but I don't think he is top pick, top ban, or anywhere higher than A-. Xing Tian makes me think differently because Xing Tian just does a crap ton of damage regardless of being ahead or behind, it would seem. But that's another story. Artemis. Artemis, we're going to go ahead and put her in B+. It's a lot of the same issues as AMC, doesn't have an escape. Tusky is extremely powerful teamfight ultimate with a couple things. There is a tendency of Tusky, if you're dropping into max range, that he'll just sit there, which sucks. More of a player issue or a positioning issue. But in addition to that, her wave clear isn't as good as AMC's. Her boxing potential is probably close to AMC's, but not quite as good considering he has the disarm. And just overall, her laning phase is so mana intensive that she's really either constantly backing, getting pots, starting trans, and not having sustain in terms of lifesteal. Athena, we're going to go ahead and put her on S. I might even move her to S minus. Athena, really strong setting up her combos, burning beads, AoE presence with her ult. Just an amazing kit all around. A lot of people think she actually needs to be nerfed. I think she's in a pretty okay place. Awilix, we'll go ahead and put Awilix in almost in the border of S minus. I'll say A plus here. 1v1 potential is extremely powerful with the Feather Step, being able to root an opponent, immune yourself to damage during the animation, and also being able to pull gods with jumps, or pair it with Geb and pull someone off a knockup. Extremely powerful and controlling. Can also carry the early game very well. Beatrice, we'll go ahead and put him at a B+. He's really mana intensive. Lane clear is lacking. He does have really good burst if you can get out of the laning phase well. But again, there's other gods with just as good damage and just as good control. Let's see, we got Baka. Baka hasn't been seeing a lot of play lately. We'll go ahead and put him in A though. Definitely not someone you're going to see in the jungle still. I think he has some solo potential in certain matchups. But the issue with boxing with a Osiris, it's not exactly an optimal situation. If you get the ult first, I'm sure you could get away with it. But that's the same story for a lot of guys. We'll put him in A. He's pretty balanced here. Just hasn't seen a lot of play, and he might make a comeback. Who knows? Bastet, we'll go ahead and put her in A as well. Bluestone helps her out. I could kind of see her in her solo, but very situational. Might be like a counter pick for tier. I can see being really strong in that kind of situation. In the jungle, she's okay. Nothing to write home about. Really strong early game with the cats, and late game you have some backdoor potential, but not as good as say Loki. Bologna, we'll go ahead and put her in S+. She just does stupid damage, stupid control with disarms, slows, and her ultimate, of course, having a stun and that aura. So powerful, and so we're still going to see a lot of picks and bans for her, I'm sure, even though she hasn't been having the best performance lately, if I'm not mistaken. Bracket, we'll go ahead and put him in A. Does a lot of damage in the jungle, has a lot of CC in the jungle. Really solid pick. Not much to say there. Chalk, we're actually going to go ahead and put him in B. The issue with Chalk is a lot of times he's referred to as a walking ult. Early game is strong, I would say, but the thing is it just completely falls off after the axes are maxed. Even with Bluestone, I don't think there's going to be too much of a change in that. Maybe you could snowball the early game a little bit harder, but just end game's very weak and underwhelming with the heal. I think if we were to add the attack speed slow back into that, you might see a little bit of a resurgence, but even then, still kind of lacking. Chang'e, we'll go ahead and we'll put her in. We'll go with the B+. Alright, now why B+ instead of A-? One, Chang'e's really easily invaded. Two, Chang'e's, the issue is she's so squishy. Even if you get into lane, if you're against a warrior, there's a chance you could poke them out, and there's also a chance that they'll hit one piece of CC on you and just completely wreck you. The ult's really strong in terms of team fight. Her passive's really strong in terms of in-lane sustain. But overall, I just feel like she's really lacking at the moment. Now, with all the healers coming into the meta, I could potentially see her being picked up, but I think there's better warrior picks still if we're looking for counter healing. We have Kronos here. Kronos, normally we see him played in the solo as opposed to an ADC. We will go ahead and put him in this A tier. Reason for that is, again, he has some okay laning phases, can be a little bit slow, he can be ganked pretty easily if you can kill him before he gets his rewind off, but late game he's just an absolute powerhouse. Let's see, Cupid, we'll go ahead and put him in solid A, really balanced with Bluestone. I think he only gets better. Bluestone, from what I understand, if you have it, when you shoot your heart bomb, procs, and then when it blows up, procs again, so making his early game that much better. Fenrir, we're going to go ahead and we'll put him in, I almost want to put him in S+, but we'll put him in S. Main reason, the stun is just crazy. Brutalize guaranteeing damage on a lot of mobile targets. The ultimate early game really powerful, whether it be in the solo or the jungle. Late game it does fall off with beads and whatnot, but doesn't take away from the rest of his kit. If you build Bruiser, if you build Max CDR, I believe the stun's on a 5-second cooldown every time you hit someone, which is insane to jump in, get a guaranteed stun, walk out, get another stun 5 seconds later. A lot of people are saying he might need to be nerfed. I'm not quite sure about that. It does seem to be a little bit of flavor of the month, considering he's been the same for a while. And while he doesn't need Hog like he used to, I don't think that really added too much to him to begin with. Freya, we'll go ahead and put her in. We'll put her in S. I'm leaning towards S minus there. Why the ult? You could go into a boxing match, be losing the boxing match, still ult, come out with the kill. The fact that she's immune to damage once she does fly up into the air is extremely strong, in addition to the fact that she has AoE autos, despite the short range on that. Her early game, of course, weak. You can potentially get her shut down, but once it does come to late game, she is hell to deal with. Gab. We'll go ahead and put him S minus. Shield's ridiculous, great initiator, amazing mobility, pretty much everything you want in a Guardian there. Not much to say about that. Guan's going to be one of the bigger changes we're going to see here with his passive. Now he can actually gain stacks for his passive in order to heal himself for more with damage he deals. So what does this mean? Mystical Mail, Guan Yu plus Tallow Assault equals crazy big heals on top of huge damage. I'm going to go ahead and for now we'll go ahead and put him in A+. The heal, again, in team fights it can help because it does also help reduce the cooldowns, which is a huge thing. The ult, big AoE ult, potential to stun multiple targets, does pretty damn good damage. And the only real downside of Guan still is his mana consumption is a little bit high, but I think he's a great new addition that we're going to be seeing in the solo lane a lot more. I actually think he has some jungle potential too. I'm not sure if anyone's going to play him, but I've been playing around with it. It's actually been working very well. Let's see. Hades also is 2. They got the extra slow. Not too much of a big deal. Hades, I'm going to go ahead and put him in S. Some people might think this is a little bit high, but the thing is Hades is just so safe, so controlling with max rank 2-second silence, which is huge. The ult, obviously it's one of those things you could beads, you could jump, but it does normally burn those beads or at least get a couple ticks of damage in. Really good mobility, hard to really do anything against him in the laning phase because he is so safe. Hebo, we'll go ahead and put him in B+. Main issue with Hebo, does a crap ton of damage, but the thing is, Giannis does a crap ton of damage. Agni does a crap ton of damage. Poseidon does a crap ton of damage. But they're all safer. They have better team fight because they have CC to offer to that fight, whereas Hebo is just damage and a slow. And a knockup, but, you know, it's only so great that a knockup can be in that situation. Hell, we'll go ahead and we'll put her in, see a little bit between A and A-. We'll go ahead and we'll put her in A for now. Main reason is new Mail of Renewal. It gives you max CDR and max physical protection, so she could actually be a really viable option, building physical defense, still having max CDR and that utility. Still, again, really easily ganked. With the nerf to Weakening, not as shut down by healing, because literally Weakening Curse will just kill hell. Not really anything you could do about it other than die with your small health pool and the ability to not heal, or possibly kill them with you know, some Dark Stance abilities, but that was part of her weaker, the weaker aspect of her, and without that, makes her a lot stronger. Similarly, Hercules, I'm actually going to put him in A+. Again, Weakening, not available as an option to completely shut down the healing. Could still buy items or counterpick, but having that in his favor makes the heal that much stronger, makes him that much better of a pick. Howie, we'll go ahead and put him in A. Laning phase is a little bit lackluster. Yeah, he has the ability to double shot or triple shot off the one, but it's really situational. It is a little bit luck based due to the delay on that. If it was a little bit faster, I think he'd be much better. Ult, extremely strong for zoning for team fights, securing objectives with that damage over time on that. Hanbat, I think he's a little bit overvalued, but I'm going to put him in A. He probably has one of the best ults for securing objectives, and the aspect that he could jump in, ult, fear people away while it does take damage. Of course, it's really strong for a team fight as well, but his early game's a little bit lacking, and last I was looking at his SPL stats, they're bad. They're really, really bad considering how often he is played. Isis. I'm going to go ahead and put her in S here. Really, really strong early game, lane clear, really strong objective secure, powerful stun. Everything you really want on a mid laner there, very bursty, and outpushes most other mid laners. Giannis, I'm going to go ahead and put him in S as well. Same reasons, shotgun is ridiculously OP. And in addition to that, the portals and his ultimate through space and time, so powerful for team fights and moving your team where it needs to be. Kali, we'll go ahead and put her in A. Really balanced. It's a lot RNG with the ult, and that's kind of what causes the issue. But if you do get that reset in a team fight, really could swing everything in your favor. Capri. So this is going to be one of the guys to really talk about here. Capri is a god who is a support, but he's not as much of a frontliner like, let's say, Gebriamir. So Capri kind of sits in the back lines, gives you those protections, gives you the ability to revive someone. Now, I think he's still going to be a really strong and powerful god, especially when you pair him up with other healers. Or, you know, gods with some kind of way to get out of get out of death, so to speak. So like Kali, Freya, ultimates like that, or Braum even. I'm going to go ahead and put him in S. I think even after the nerfs that we've seen him receive, that ultimate is just so powerful where you could put it on an ADC, have them do ridiculous damage, have them die, and come back. It's just huge. Again, it's something that changes the tide of a team fight. I think he's also going to see a lot of solo lane play, mainly against like Bruiser type characters. Him with a mystical meal is just the biggest pain to deal with. Put a teleport on it, he's back in lane over and over with 2 lives. You can actually potentially outbox like that. Kukulkan. We're going to go ahead and put him at B+. Really strong, safe, clear, but that's really all he has going for it. The ult does a lot of damage, but it's slow to hit. It's kind of hard to set up. Yeah, you could use it to steal objectives, but we don't see that a lot because how often is Kukulkan getting through whoever's zoning to actually secure that? Not too frequently. It really doesn't offer much CC to the kit other than the slow and the zoning potential. Kumba, another big change here. Increased the damage on his fling for the minions, as well as his epic uppercut. Seen him a lot of play in solo as well as support with all that additional damage. I'm going to go ahead and put him in A+ for now. The clear is really safe. It's pretty reliable, and he can literally kill someone in lane just with his full combo. Where are we going to see him more solo or support? I could see him being a counter pick for things like Bologna, messing people out of bludgeon. Could be really strong as well as rooting them. So I'm still going to put him A+. That's as a support, as a solo laner. I think he does both very well now. The Mez can be a little bit underwhelming, but again, if it's used as an interrupt for certain abilities, can be very powerful. Loki, he's one of those gods. I see him banned a lot in league play just so people don't have to deal with the split push and cheese. He's kind of situational. I think we've only seen him 2 times in the SPL. Once was a counter lane to Hades, so it's pretty much AFK farm and kill stuff. He's an okay god. He doesn't really do anything better other than picking off single targets. In professional play, you don't see that a lot normally because there's communication, but if you're looking at pub stomp leagues, a lot of times he's a good pick. Medusa. We're going to go ahead and put her in A. I think she's one of the most overvalued picks in the SPL. Similar to Hunbat's, very high pick rate, very low win rate. The ultimate's really strong, comboing with Athena, very strong, but it just doesn't seem to do a lot. And it's really situational when you get that off as opposed to having a hunter that just has a better late game, a hunter that just has a better early game, or a hunter that just boxes better. And she really doesn't fill any of those particular roles well. Mercury, he got a recent buff here. His passive went from 25% contribution of movement speed to attack power to 30%. Didn't do anything for him, leaving him in C. Why? Back in the day when Merc was probably SS or S+, he had a lot of damage. The melee look was easy to hit. The ult shot out right away. Taking all those things away from him, he doesn't really do anything better than any other attack speed god does. Kali has the ult immune, and who else has attack speed? Baka. Baka we don't really see in jungle. I mean, so we'll just compare to Kali here. So Kali has that ult immune. Merc just doesn't. He just dies. Like, he can blow up people one shot, but at the same aspect, he can get blown up. And even if you do lifesteal, once he gets CC'd, his health pool is so small it doesn't matter. So, not really working out for him. I think he needs some other kind of change, and I'm sure they're going to be looking at that because I don't think he's going to be played still. Nija. Put Nija in B+. Why? Again, very situational. Can blow up squishy gods pretty much in one shot, guaranteed. Obviously, they could beads that because bait out beads. Late game falls off pretty hard, though. So, a little bit of trade-off. Neath, Pinnacle of Balance there. Really strong team fight. Ultimate, the ability to secure a kill across the map without being there, as still being in lane and farming. Nemesis. I think she's a really underplayed god. I'll go ahead and put her in A here too. Maybe A-. I think she's really strong. I think this is going to be a meta where we're going to see more Guardians again. And the fact that she could go ahead and spread those protections off Guardians and Warriors, with the Warriors like one that we're probably going to be seeing more of. I think it's really valuable. And it's just one of those guys that hasn't seen play, but probably going to see some more soon. Nox. We're going to go ahead and put her in B+. The main issue with Nox is her early game damage is really good, really great at locking down gods. When it gets to late game, when it gets to team fights, she can't do anything. You can't hit the Siphon Soul reliably on one target and just stand there. You can't get 3 people in tier 2 and just sit there. You're not going to dash into 3 people to blow up. And the ult is, it's okay. It does damage. That's all I can really say about it. But all those things don't contribute too much to a team fight. Nuwa. Pardon me. Nuwa is one of the gods that has been seeing a lot of success lately. I believe it's 14 games in a row that she's won. And actually, I just want to do this for a sec. Okay. I just want to see where the game's going. I have COG for the 2-0, but we'll see what happens. Where was I? So Nuwa, something like a 14-game win streak on Nuwa. So all of a sudden, seeing no play, hasn't received any changes. The AI hasn't even been buffed for the minions yet, but winning. So, to me, she feels like an A god. Some people might say she's A+. I'm going to go ahead and put her in A. Reason being so, the minions. They can't reliably go where you want them to early game. Even late game, it might go towards a different god that you're looking at, and it makes her burst a little bit unreliable. Having the ult for securing kills is extremely powerful, as well as using it. It's kind of like a UAV if you're having a throwback Call of Duty moment where you can ping, see everyone on the map, know where they are, without having actual ward vision. Also really good to tell people are a fire giant. So definitely a valuable pick there, but I don't think she's broken or overpowered by any stretch. Odin. We'll go ahead and we'll put him A. Earlier I probably would have put him in a lower tier. The reason I'm moving him up to A, and maybe even A+ in the future, the anti-heal. So the ring, 100% anti-heal. Something that's going to be more valuable now against healers. His burst, it can be a little bit iffy, but it's big burst damage when you do actually hit it. The shield, a lot of people don't actually use the shield as a shield, they just use it for damage. But the shield can really save your life and has a lot of utility to it that people haven't been using. And really strong counterpick again to those healers. And anyone without a jump, of course, locking them in the ring. Anyone with high attack speed. Guys like Freya who are really popular. Any ADC. Really strong counter to that. Osiris, leaning a little bit towards... I feel like he falls into the same category as Odin. They both have that really powerful anti-healing. They're both bruiser, frontline gods. They both are capable of doing a lot of damage. I feel like Odin's a little bit more on the damage-oriented spectrum, whereas Osiris is a little bit more on the defensive aspect with the Judgment Tether. I think we have been seeing him in a lot of play, almost, not every SPL game, but a lot of SPL games, so I don't think he's going to be going anywhere. Poseidon, we'll put him in A. Pinnacle of Balance shares a lot in common with Agni in terms of his kit. Raw, we'll go ahead and put him in A as well. I think he's going to see a little bit more play because his healing is going to be stronger. Even though some of his skill shots can be tricky to hit in certain situations. Let's see, Rom, we'll go ahead and put him in A as well. Really strong late game. The early game isn't too bad compared to a lot of the other late game hunters. If you have the snipe potential, you can secure a lot of kills that way. The Rat, we'll go ahead and we'll put him almost A+, but I'd put him in A. The dash still powerful even with the 3 dashes. He's good with Bluestone. You can use him as a solo laner as well as a jungler, of course. And the rest of his kit, despite the nerfs, isn't bad. It's not the best, but so whereas before he might have been more like an S+S, he has fallen a little bit here in my opinion. Robin. We'll go ahead and we'll put him in A as well. The buffs to his 3 are much stronger than ever. Offering him really good sustain, and in a lot of matches when he's boxing, he's going to win. Osiris might be one of the few warriors that he might lane against, so he'll have real trouble. I mean, I could potentially see him having issues with Odin as well if he gets caged. But the damage off the Prana Assault with the buffs to that seems pretty darn good. The sustain's okay. His escape's pretty good with his 2, and it also gives him the ability to counter a lot of matchups. So again, looking at like an Odin matchup, you could potentially 2 every bird bomb. With the Osiris, the cooldown obviously is going to be a little bit shorter on his 1 and 2, but not an awful matchup. Scylla, we'll go ahead and we'll put her in A, almost A minus. Main issue with Scylla is early game's pretty weak, and it's really important to have a strong early game in the meta currently. Not as important as it was previously, but obviously if you can't hold your lane, if you can't rotate over, it's going to put you behind. She's more of a late game god, and that's where she really shines. Similar to Callie, you get 1 reset on your ult, could change the tide of a team fight. Serket, we're going to go ahead and put her in S. I almost feel like she's S+, just so much mobility, so much burst, very, very high win percentage currently. No, we're gonna move her up to S+. Just such a strong jungler, very easy to have presence even before level 5. Just a Deathbane, taunt into a Deathbane just does a crazy amount of damage, and with Blink it just makes her even more mobile than she already is. So back, we'll go ahead and put him in A. Mana costs are a little bit high, has a small amount of anti-healing. Compared to Xing Tian, I think Xing Tian does. Yeah, well, I mean, they do different jobs, but I feel like Xing Tian does what people want Sobek to do. Because a lot of times you'll see Sobek's not quite bruisery, but you might see like a mystical mail kind of start against certain lanes, as opposed to a sovereignty. It being a little bit more aggressive in the early game, because he does have pretty good damage. We have seen him in the solo lane as well. Wukong, we'll go ahead and we'll put him in A. I almost want to bump him out to A+. The main reason I'm putting him in A is, well, he has lots of escape potential, and he has that ability to bait a lot of people in team fights. He has the ability to single out one target. I just feel like Osiris and Hercules do it better. Hercules is better with that healing. Osiris is better with that judgment tether. Again, the anti-healing and his auto attack chain. I just feel like he's stronger at it. I don't think Wukong's that much weaker. He definitely has his situations where he can shine, but overall, that's how I see it. Sylvanas, we'll go ahead and we'll put him S-. Still really strong push even after the nerfs. Really good, strong healing, and again with weakening curse getting weakened, it is making him that much more potent. Not too much to say there. Thanatos, we'll put him in, he's a little bit between A- and B+. His early game is just so strong, his ability to carry that, but the thing is to transition that to the late game is normally the issue. If you have too many kills on Thanatos, that means the rest of your team isn't getting him, and late game when you try and fight anything, you're pretty much a squish box and you start building physical defense items. Thor, we'll go ahead and put him a little bit torn between A and A+. We'll put him in A. Really strong. It hasn't been seen as much play as he used to, but definitely has one of the best kits in the game. So we'll leave him at A. Tier, we'll put him at A as well. Again, reason why he's not up there with Herc and Osiris, early game lane clear, really weak. After that, of course, he does have Fearless, and Fearless is just so strong in the potential where you could knock up multiple targets. And I mean, I'm just trying to think. Like, there's matchups that he has that are okay, but like same kind of thing. Looking at Herc and Osiris, the same kind of matchups on both ends. I just feel like they do more in the team fights, generally speaking. Ullr, we'll go ahead and put him in A. Not too much to say about him really. Bluestone helps him out if you're going for more of those ability-based damage, but it doesn't really change anything about him. Let's see, Vamana. We'll go ahead and we'll put him in C. I also want to move him down to D. I feel a little bit sad that Guan got a buff and Vamana was left alone. These guys are both still hurting from the sprint nerf, and they just haven't recovered. They haven't found any identity. Vamana's just too mana intensive right now, and if we were at least to change how mana intensive he was, give him a little bit more sustain that way, might bump him up a little. Vulcan, I'm actually going to put an A here. One of those other gods we haven't he hasn't seen as much play as I think he deserves. His ultimate is probably one of the best at securing objectives, as when you shoot it at max range, it does do more damage, and it does cover a huge area. In addition to that, the turrets are pretty safe and reliable for poke and lane clear, and overall he has the knock-up as well, pairs really well with the Wheelix. Z-Ball, we'll go ahead and put him in A here. One of the best late game carriers in the game. Not the best early game, but you can work around it, and if you get ahead, you're probably going to win the game. We'll come back to Xing Tian here since he's new. Ymir, we'll go ahead and do the same thing here. A, really strong lane clear. Actually, we'll put him at A+ here. Main reason I'm moving up to A+, he has multiple uses. You can play him as solo, you can play him as jungle, you can play him as a support, and he does them all pretty darn well. Some of the best CC in the game. Oh, it's okay. It has its moments, but nothing to write home about. The walls are really useful for locking people in a whole bunch of situations. Zeus, he's getting rekitted here. We'll put him in C. Main issue is that they took everything off of him. Everything that was good about Zeus is gone. Zankui, we're going to put him in C as well. I kind of like to think about him like Chalk, but worse. Chalk does things that a lot of other warriors do, but doesn't do anything particularly well, doesn't have a particularly super amazing early game, or a super amazing late game, or a super amazing mid game for that matter. Zankui's main issue seems to be in his attack animations taking 20 years to do anything, and the fact that he has to stand around for 20 years for his ult to do damage, despite it doing a large amount of damage. Kind of an aspect, I'm trying to think what mage is best compared to, and I really can't think of one because he sucks. Lastly, Xing Tian, so that's the new god here. I'd probably put him in a S- category here. Main reason is his damage is stupid ridiculous. I don't think that the buffs were necessary, even though he was described as more like a Bruiser-esque, Ares-style support, because maybe up to about 30 minutes, there's a high potential of you building full Guardian and still being top damage on your team, and even though your crowd control is worse, arguably, than any other Guardian, it just does so much damage that it doesn't matter. A 2-second route is still, I believe it's a 2-second route. It's still a long-ass route. His ultimate is ridiculous. And his passive is so-so. The damage on the one, or not the damage, but the damage mitigation on the one, stronger early game, not so much late game. The jumps and the protections on it are a little bit negligible. But I don't think that arguing that the jump and his main damage ability, his main lane clear ability, not doing that well makes up for him doing so much damage all around. But again, I think he'd probably be S-, maybe even S. One of the things I just want to talk about here is when we look at the gods, notice that my A, it's a very big category. It's where most of my gods are placed here. The reason I have such a big A is I think this might be the best point that Smite has ever had balance-wise. A lot of gods are seeing competitive play here. There's a lot of gods that are not overly broken. So obviously there's a few that are a little bit on top. So again, if we take a look here, Alcong, Bellona, Serket still very powerful. Fenrir probably, in my opinion, being more powerful than it was previously. But I mean, compared to what we have here in the A+, A-, there's a few exceptions here. So I don't think this is anything that can't be fixed with a couple patches and a couple of tiny adjustments for these gods. So you know, great job Hi-Rez on the balance team. These guys are definitely, you know, they might need a little bit of a look taken at them. But you know, so many in A. So overall I'm happy. Obviously, everyone's opinion here is going to vary. My differences between A+, A, and A- are very minute. So it's not a huge jump from here to here. So if you disagree with anything in between the A and the A-, we'll talk about it. Everyone else I think is pretty much solidly solidified here. Deity might come down a little bit, but we'll have to see a couple more SPL games here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and a shout out to Tori Martin for the Smite tier list website here. I'll go ahead and I'll put a link to this over here. We'll call it Mandy's tier list, if I could type. And we'll go ahead and publish that. So I'll put this link here in the video. Hopefully you guys enjoy, and good luck on your games. Have fun.